Don't we espouse to that? How are we doing today?
Excellent. Good.
Excellent.
My talk title today is Up Until Now. And everybody should have gotten a little script card, a cue card. And if you didn't, Laurie has them back there. As I mentioned last week, can we acknowledge our past, the good, the bad, and the ugly, while disentangling ourselves from it, right? I don't know about you, but maybe it's time to release old patterns and forgive ourselves or others. Do you agree?
Yes.
Because today's a new day. It's a new opportunity. As my teacher, Mary Morrissey, said, do what you can with what you have from where you are. Do what you can with what you have from where you are. Isn't that good advice?
Yes.
So last week I invited you to start a morning practice of gratitude and opening to something good. Did anybody do that like I suggested? A couple people raising their hands. Well, you can start again. Start where you are. Start today. Because you also don't want to forget the evening practice, which I call bookends. When we do something in the morning and close the evening with a focus, then it's a great way to bookend our life. So at the end of each day, what I like to do is think about how many negative and positive feelings that I put into my subconscious since I woke up. Oh. Wow, how many times did I judge? Where was I afraid? All of that. And what did I do well? Because if there are more negative than positives, we can pledge to ourselves that this is a new opportunity to begin to carve a new road into that subconscious mind and be pleasantly surprised. I also, before dropping off to sleep, I write down in my gratitude journal a thank you for the day, and I note all the wins that I had, and the wins can be tiny. What went well today for me? And I write it down. Really powerful to do that. So, life is an adventure, isn't it? And remember, who's driving the boat? You are. You are driving the boat. Smile. You're on life's camera. It's always there. So I've been studying and teaching the idea of manifestation for over 20 years probably. And I'm still fascinated with how many people don't know or understand that each of us has access and contributes to a creative process 24/7. Manifesting, which is a big buzzword these days, but it's nothing new. We call it in the science of mind making a demonstration. So when we have a desire, it begins in our conscious mind and we decide we want something, right? We want a car, we want a job, we want a new friend, we want a new experience, like health. Joy, I want some more peace in my life. I'd like more fun in my life. And we make up our mind. Remember last week we did a process where we made up our mind. Because when you make up your mind of what you want, you're planting a seed in the creative soil. And I mentioned this process in my book, which I meant to bring up with me. They're on the back table, the Mind Gardening Handbook, which I gave out last year to all of you. And I have some for sale today if you want them. But it uses a simple creative process formula. You plant the seed in the soil, you nurture it, and then it will grow. But you have to plant the seed. And I like to remind us that the power of our mind is so much more than just a list of what we want. It's part of the natural creative process in operation in the whole universe. And it's not just about us willing things into existence, but through our connection of conscious and subconscious mind, our attention and our focus. Remember, Jesus said, "It is done unto you as you believe." So what are you believing? Someone said to me recently, "I'm so frustrated with the political arena these days. It drives me crazy. Clunk. I know we all say that and think that, but I want you to hear that as an affirmation. Just hear that as an affirmation. I'm so frustrated. What are you planting? With the political or anything. You can fill it in with anything. It drives me crazy. Oops, you're asking for it. So just think about it. I mean, because we all do it. I do it too. But mind your mind. What are you saying and thinking to yourself? Just catch it. That's why today we're installing a new script. Up until now. Up until now. These are 3 powerful words that you can use. So we do a turnaround. When we notice, when we're willing to notice that we're going down that rabbit hole. I know none of you go down a rabbit hole, but just in case. Up until now, I have been frustrated with fill in the blank. And now I choose to trust in a greater good. Up until now, I have been really disappointed in fill in the blank. And now, I choose to make up my mind to relax a little bit around it. You notice, can you feel how that shifts? It opens the door to a possibility. It gives you relief. So whatever you can say in the turnaround that gives you relief, you'll notice your shoulders drop, you relax. It's like, it opens you to a possibility of a solution. I guarantee it. Up until now. Big, big, big thing. Because do you ever hear yourself saying, I've always, Julie's like, I've always done it this way, or I always have done this, or I'll always be this way, or my family always did this. Right? It keeps us prisoner of the past when we keep retelling that old story. And then we could be investigating a new now. I've always, we find ourselves saying that, is simply an invitation to stay comfortable in our discomfort, to stay stuck in a rut. Anybody ever stuck in a rut? Mm-hmm. So in using up until now, so the facts may not have changed yet, but we're not stuck in them. This is important. It's a new creative moment when you start to do this little shift. It's what I call an alchemy opportunity. So the science of mind, which we teach here, teaches us to identify the issues that we want to change. And remember that we don't deny the reality of some condition we have, but we are denying its power over us. That's the difference. It doesn't have power unless you say it does. So when we turn our attention away from something and towards something we want to experience, using our imagination, our thought, our faith, our word to claim that higher good, then we make up our mind. Consciously planting a new seed, a new idea. And we use spiritual mind treatment here, which is an amazing 5-step affirmative prayer. And not to ask Spirit for anything, because it's already been given, but to convince ourselves of its reality. Up until now. Up until now, my experience of finding a good job has been hard, frustrating. And now, I choose to be open to finding that perfect job that fits my skills exactly. Can you feel that shift, that little teeny shift? Or I make up my mind now to not worry about it. I welcome harmony instead. Up until now, I've been really pissed off at so-and-so. And now I welcome peace between us. And we don't know how that's going to show up, but you're planting a seed. This is the best seed I can give you today. And the Buddha, maybe you're attached to your suffering, I don't know. But the Buddha taught that attachment was the root of all suffering. When we're attached to something, and its complement is resistance. When we honor our past and learn from it without attachment or resistance, we can then move freely into our future. So think about it. What old story are you attached to in your life? Take a breath. And have you been retelling it a lot to yourself and to others? Just notice. And how does that feel? Does it support your self-worth or does it diminish it? And how does that old story affect how you show up in the world? Our founder, Ernest Holmes, said, "We all have the ability to transcend previous experiences and rise triumphant above them. But we shall never triumph over them while we persist in going through the old mental reactions." Up until now. Up until now. It opens the door. And that's where being an alchemist comes in. You know what an alchemist is, right? In medieval science, the alchemist was an expert at material transformation, turning base metal into gold. But in a deeper spiritual sense, the alchemist is like a practitioner capable of mystical transformation at the highest level of order. You know, there's simple things we can do, like breath practices, which I teach, where we can actually switch between nervous systems, between the sympathetic, which is the fight or flight, into the parasympathetic, which is rest and digest. As we slow our breathing, we prepare our body to move into a more creative state, and we align with our center. Check out my Wednesday Wisdom Window every Wednesday morning on Facebook. I always do a breath practice of some kind there. And we do it here, too. So I believe Ernest Holmes and Science of Mind was designed to help each of us become an alchemist. Yeah. To bring about powerful change in our lives. To learn how to liberate energy and affect change. How to turn challenges into solutions and transmuting old patterns into new life. That's being an alchemist. Is anyone interested in being an alchemist in their life?
Yes.
Yes. Let's affirm, I am an alchemist. I'm a really good one. Because we can look and think independently of any confusion or upset around us. You have the power to turn your attention away from frustration, from upset, from disappointment. Up until now. And claim a higher experience of God's good for you. As I release the past, I claim a greater experience of God's good now. Repeat after me. As I release the past, I claim a greater experience of God's good now. As I release the past, I claim a greater experience of God's good now. Take a breath. Ernest Holmes also said we are all carrying the negative experiences of our past into the future merely because we have not disconnected them from our minds. If we are creating a negative future, it's because we have not changed our thought about it. It's a thing of thought. Simple as that. Up until now. This is your homework. This is spiritual medicine this week, people. Really, if you play around with it, you're going to see how it can start to shift things in your life that you feel stuck with. And it invites us to stay curious. So we start to expand our narrow field of Isn't it awful? Ain't it awful to ain't it awesome? We can expand into asking ourselves questions. Well, what if it wasn't so bad? Can I imagine? What else is possible here? One of Abraham Hicks' favorite ones, if you're familiar with them, is, wouldn't it be nice? I love that one. I do that one a lot. Wouldn't it be nice if I just didn't get so uptight about this? Wouldn't it be nice if my bank account balanced itself automatically? Wouldn't it be nice if I got along with my ex? Wouldn't it be nice? I mean, all of that can just open us up. It lightens us up, doesn't it? And the most impactful human inventions and discoveries have been born out of curiosity. People that have been willing to think outside the box. In celebrating also, though, every mistake, setback, and dead end that they experience, and grateful for any insight they received. I absolutely know for each of us that when we relax into the truth that we are safe in spirit, even as we're exploring new territory and letting go of fear of making a mistake, the courage to be curious inspires us to step out of the old limits and embrace a larger, more expansive new now. I am safe in spirit. Let's say that. I am safe in spirit. Again. I am safe in spirit. How does that feel? As I mentioned, the blooming in nature right now, the flowers and the trees, oh my gosh. So in this idea of up until now, I invite us to move from striving to become something and move into the art of blooming. Kind of has a different feel, doesn't it? So each of you is blooming into something different. Because I think we give ourselves a disservice when we judge where we are in comparison to where we want to be. Oh, I shouldn't have done that. I should have done that. I always do that. I never do that. Right? Anybody ever on that mental merry-go-round? Sometimes we feel like where we are isn't enough and that we're lacking somehow. I don't know about you, but I go there. So my invitation is to embrace where you are while at the same time joyfully expecting what's next. So that we create a bridge instead of a wall. And that's what I believe up until now does. It creates a bridge. So think of a simple flower, let's say a rose. At each moment of its, like a rosebud, and at each moment of its slow blossoming, it's as open as it can be. The same is true of our lives. In each stage of our unfolding, our allowing, we are stretched as possible, as much as possible at that moment. We're exactly where we need to be. I'm right where I need to be. So imagine if a flower, a bud, was trying to force itself to open faster. It would tear. And yet, don't we often push ourselves to unfold faster than is natural? And we can confuse and upset ourselves. Nature takes its time. And most of our problems come from impatience. We live in a world that's impatient, don't we? Everything has to be done now. Well, that's pretty stressful. So I think our task is to allow our own blossoming, no matter how incomplete or flawed it may feel, to let our blossoming in its natural course with the faith that everything is unfolding exactly as it needs, and I am safe in spirit, and all is well. Take a breath. And close your eyes for a moment. And I want you to contemplate a single rosebud in your mind. Just visualize it. And see and visualize the beauty of that rose. And you don't have to wait for it to fully open. Appreciate it as it is, noticing the petals on the bud just about to open. See the beauty of it right now. Just as it is. Just as it is. And look upon yourself as such a rose. You don't have to wait to see your own beauty and your own potential. Rather, appreciate the beauty of yourself about to open. Ah, yes. Appreciate your magnificence as it is now. Thank you, my magnificence. I allow myself to unfold with ease and grace. We'll plant that seed now. I allow myself to unfold with ease and grace. And you can open your eyes. And I invite you this week, here's your homework again. Here's your assignment, should you choose to accept it. When you catch yourself going around in some negative swirl, try shifting it. Take a pause. Up until now, I have felt. And when you practice this a few times, it will become your default. And I guarantee that your feeling about that issue will shift. That's guaranteed. And you will blossom out of it. I can't wait to see all of your blossoming next week. Are you willing?
Yes.
Up until now. Say it now. Up until now. Fill in the blank. Up until now. Say it again. Up until now.